Never thought I'd feel this way.
Hi, performance psychology. Feeling a little bit, I don't know, happy, but sad. May always makes me feel happy, sad, I guess you can call it. It's graduation season, the idea of people graduating and moving on to the next stage of their life and leaving some things behind that I know they cherish, but it always is a little different than when we would see each other in high school and throughout the years. So playing a little Dionne Warwick, That's What Friends Are For, feeling a little bit, I guess, nostalgic. I don't know. So anyways, we have a great lecture today. We're going to continue talking about leadership. We've got 3 really good topics to talk about today. We're going to talk about the topics of enthusiasm. We're going to talk about the topic of mental toughness, and we're going to talk about the topic of connection. So if you haven't taken a look at our agenda for today, we have this lecture that we're going to do, and then I have 2 videos that normally I would do as I lecture, but you're going to watch them separately outside of this lecture today, simply because you don't want to see my face while you watch the lecture. So that makes more sense for me to just have you watch these outside of the lecture and then apply them to what I'm talking about today in this talk. And once again, we'll do a discussion thread, and you're welcome to do the discussion thread as an original idea or add to somebody else's discussion. These discussion threads are going to be dice assignments. So we'll roll the dice on I think maybe Thursday's class. We'll roll the dice, and that way you'll know which assignment I'm grading. Some of you still have a mindset book. I totally forgot about this until Mr. Doan said something recently, that if you have a book still checked out for me, then great, you're going to need to get that returned. I do have a bin at the high school that psychology students are turning some stuff in. So if you want to turn in your mindset book into that bin at the high school on Tuesdays or Fridays when people are there, you don't even have to go out inside of the building. They're right outside on a table, and you can just turn in that mindset book there. I may be sending some of you some messages to remind you that you have a book. I do need those back, or else next year some people won't have an opportunity to borrow a book like you borrowed from me. So keep that in mind. You may get a message from me if you have borrowed a book, and that way we can get those back. So thank you. You also would have gotten an invitation from me for our final meet, and that is going to be on the 21st. That's our seniors' last day. Our final meet, I have to say, is going to be more of a just to see you and say goodbye to you guys. So that's really it. There's nothing you need to majorly prepare. We'll talk about a couple of things, but that's about it. I will be putting up what your final is going to be. I believe I'll try and put that up on Tuesday so you can start to get ahead of that. All right. It's nothing too difficult. It's not even a paper. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead and start this lecture. So number 2, we've been talking about, if you don't remember, I had you guys taking some notes in regards to the 12 simple yet significant daily to-dos for leaders. And in our last lecture, we talked about being the hardest worker at practice. I also forgot to put up this TED Talk by Adam Grant. It's a 2-minute TED Talk. Jump in there if you haven't seen it. It's great. It talks about how you don't have to be the best player on the field, the floor, the stage, that you can be the hardest worker and still have that respect of others and be the leader for others. So number 2, be a spark of energy and enthusiasm today. Let your passion for the sport shine through today. Spread a contagious energy and enthusiasm amongst your teammates. Think about how lucky you are to be able to play and compete. That's such a huge thing. I often think about a friend of mine who recently lost both of his legs in the last 3 years. And so, whenever I'm working out and I start to think of, I'm tired, I don't want to do this, I start to think about, I have the opportunity to do this. What's really cool about my friend is that he continues to have the best growth mindset about things. He's a bodybuilder, actually. And even though he only has, uh, uh, he's an amputee, that he is still doing, he is still working out. And so I sometimes think about, all right, if he can do it, I can do it. And I'm lucky that I get to do that. Remember back when you were a young child and reconnect with the joy you played with back then. Um, make your sport exciting for yourself and for your teammates. All right. This is JD. I had the privilege of coaching JD when she was a freshman. JD played basketball for me, but basketball wasn't her sport, it was volleyball. She loved volleyball. But the thing is you would never know that JD loved volleyball different from basketball because this is just who JD was. Currently, JD plays in South Dakota at a university in South Dakota. But you can see this isn't because they won a game, this is because they won a point. And this was common for JD. She was literally a spark of enthusiasm for her team. And you can see that was her in her club. This is her in her college sport. And you can see there's no difference. And as I said, this is just points in a game. And it's funny because you see JD's level of enthusiasm there. And what it does is people who maybe not as enthusiastic as JD, it brings out that enthusiasm in them. And so you can't help but sometimes match somebody else's emotions. It's like yawning. If I yawn, then you likely are going to yawn too. We have these things called mirror neurons within our brain, and we mirror behavior. That's why if you hang around somebody for a long time, you start to pick up their mannerisms. And so JD provides that for her team. She is a spark of energy. Now, each of you may have a different way to spark energy for your team. I'll give you some ideas as we go through these lectures. But if you can do that, if that's within your personality to do that, then do that. That spark of energy is priceless. It's what we would call an intangible that coaches just love. Okay, it's nothing that you can record on a stat sheet, but man, coaches see that and they're like, I want to recruit that. I want that. I want that energy in our team. So I have a TED Talk, and it's about a 20-minute TED Talk by Itai Telgam, who is a very famous conductor. And so this takes us out of the sports arena, but still talking about that spark of energy that you can be. And what I love about this TED Talk is he kind of talks about the gamut of the spark of energy. He talks about the conductors that are so serious and no real spark, to those conductors that you know that there's a spark, not because you know music, but you just read it. So this is a great TED Talk. Give it a chance. Watch it. It's wonderful. And he's actually pretty funny. Number 3, model mental toughness. Okay, so we talked about being the hardest worker, but hardest worker is different from mental toughness. When you model mental toughness, your teammates look to you under pressure. If you're the person that's constantly saying right before the game, I'm nervous, you're not modeling mental toughness. Be tough. Yeah, you may have the butterflies in your stomach, but if you know how to control that feeling and think about it as, I'm excited, like we've learned about, or this is a eustress and I can't wait to show how I've prepped for this day, then your teammates are going to look to you under pressure, adversity, stress. Okay. A bad call is made. You have to show that mental toughness, bounce back quickly after errors. Show your teammates how they need to respond by how you respond. All right. Maintain your poise, your optimism despite mistakes. Remember, mistakes are going to happen. Nobody's ever going to play a perfect game or have a perfect performance. You may get pretty close, okay, but it's not going to be perfect. Remember, we're not practicing for perfect, we're practicing for permanent. So you might, by showing that mental toughness, your teammates can trust you and they can trust and look to you to get them through a tough time. And that's the hump that a lot of teams can't figure out how to get over. How do we get over the hump? We're always so close. We're always so close to winning, or we're always so close to meeting our goals. You get over the hump by being mentally tough and having other people be mentally tough with you. So this is an example of a team that I coached that I would say was my most mentally tough team that I've ever coached. And if there were a team I would go back to coach, it would be them. They weren't my most winningest team, but they were my mentally tough team, and I loved every minute that I coached them. We weren't talented to the point of I had a lot of college recruited kids. We had a bunch of girls that just were tough and loved to work together and figured out their why in their last year. So my point guard here, she was about, I'd say 4 foot nothing, about 4'10". One of the toughest girls I ever had. This picture is a wonderful picture of her tenacity on the floor. She didn't care how little she was. She would zip through all of these larger girls here and do what she needed to do to get the assist, because she knew she wasn't going to make that basket. All these taller girls would probably block her, but get that assist, draw in the defense, and free up somebody. She was smart and she was mentally tough. I had another set of girls on the same team that practiced their mental toughness. You can see here we're over here, we're practicing. This is practice, this is not a game. And I would come into the gym and find them practicing taking a charge. For those of you that don't know basketball, taking a charge means holding your ground on defense. And if somebody initiates contact at you and you take that charge, that's a foul against them. And so they would practice this, and you can see she is running her over. Mo is running Mel over, okay? And they would practice this, and I would be like, stop, you guys are going to get injured before we have an actual game. What was cool about this is Mel was had the highest amount of charges in our league and also in the state that year for 4A basketball. Again, a girl that was about 5'5", maybe 5'6". So she wasn't a big girl. She just was mentally tough, willing to take that charge. So much so that she one time played an entire game and then went to the hospital afterwards and got her appendix out. We had no idea she was going through pain. Never do that, by the way. But very mentally tough girls. Who I love to this day. So this is a great video that I'm going to put up for you guys to watch. This is the most losingest team and how they overcame by having mental toughness. So a great little video. I think it's like 5-6 minutes. Take a second to watch that. Normally we'd watch these in class and talk about them, but you'll be doing a discussion if you would like to go over that topic. Our last one we're going to talk today is connect with the teammate today, number 4. Leadership is about relationships. You cannot lead unless you have people who respect your position as a leader and are bought into your ability to lead. The way that you become a good leader isn't about your skill, isn't about just you showing mental toughness, just you showing how hard you work. It's about how you relate to people, okay? Take the time, get to know your teammates. And I don't mean the ones that are just on your JV team or your varsity team. Get to know every single person on your team. Get to know every member of the cast. Get to know every member of that speech and debate team. Okay, invest the time into them. Oh, but Ms. Rivera, I don't have that much time. You don't need that much time. Okay? All you need to do, and this is crazy, is 15 seconds. Studies show us that if you take 15 seconds to engage with somebody, that's enough for them on a consistent basis to see you as somebody who is on their side, to see you as a good teammate, to see you as a friend. 15 seconds. It's as simple as me saying to you something to the effect of, hey, how's it going today? I'm so stoked about practice today. We got that game coming up. What are you thinking about it? Letting them talk, listening, 15 seconds. That's it. So in the locker room, 15 seconds with two other people that you don't normally talk to, just saying something, including them in the conversation. What you're doing is you're creating a bond within the team that creates that bond where I got your back on the field because I know who you are. You took the time to get to know me. And so 15 seconds, invest 15 seconds. It doesn't even have to be every day. Make a point to do 15 seconds, maybe once a week with people. And what you'll start to see as a leader is if you go out of the way to create 15 seconds, and you don't even have to tell people, all you got to do is give them 15 seconds. You don't have to say that. If you go out of the way to initiate with a conversation with somebody you don't normally initiate with, they're going to start to go out of the way to initiate conversation with people that they don't normally initiate with. And now you've created a cohesive bond. And if you have a large team like a football team, this is major. If you have a small team like a basketball team, I can do 15 seconds every other day with probably every single person on that team if my team is about 20 something large. Okay. So keep those things in mind. It's not just about your skill in the court, in the pool. It's about your connections too. Okay. I just included a picture here. This is a reunion I had when I finished coaching. A number of my players from the past 8 years had come home, including my managers. And they made sure to come home to celebrate with me the retirement of my coaching. So within this picture are kids that graduated all the way from 2012 to 2016. And unfortunately, my 2017 team wasn't there because we were at a bar and they couldn't go to the bar because that doesn't work well. I love this Maya Angelou quote because I think it really makes sense. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And if you can make that person on your team, maybe somebody who's had a really bad day, or maybe that freshman, if you can make them feel wanted, if you can make them feel part of the team, they will remember you. They will remember that. That freshman, she may never contribute to the product that you're in. Okay. So if, I think of maybe somebody like football, Daniel, that freshman may never contribute to your varsity season, but in 4 years, he may talk to some freshman as a senior that said, man, I so looked up to this guy. His name was Daniel Gallegos. He was amazing. He always told me, great job. It just made me feel like I was part of the team, and I'm going to do that for a freshman. And what you create is a legacy. And what you create is a program, not a season, but a program. This is how great programs, teams pass on from one generation to the next their winning attitude. That's why there are some teams that you're like, I don't understand how every year they have a winning team. This is how. Okay. So with that said, we'll stop right there with number 4. And all you're going to do is you're going to go right into Thursday's class. And I will have the links for the videos. I promise. I was kind of the other day and I forgot to link that video. So I'll have the 2 links, but I'll also have here enthusiasm, mental toughness, and connection discussion. And again, all I'm asking you for is in 2 to 3 sentences, discuss what was covered in today's lecture: enthusiasm, mental toughness, and connection of leadership. Your discussion may cover the content of our videos, the TED Talk by Ital Telgram, and the Losing Esteem. You may post individual responses, or you may respond to a fellow classmate. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I'm gonna let Dion and her friends like Stevie Wonder take us out. And man, miss you guys. Wish this was an in-person lecture because I get real passionate about the leadership of teens. So we'll see you soon. Bye.